Hello and welcome to the Bride Tender Podcast. I'm your host, Estee Levin, and I'm here to tend to the brides like I tend to the bar. So mix yourself a cocktail and let's get ready to discuss all things weddings. Today, I'm here with Jenna Rodriguez from Silent Capture and Mama Magic, and we're talking all things photography, videography, business ownership, women in business, the whole 9 yards. So Jenna, first, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for inviting me on the podcast.
I know you're usually like the woman behind the camera, but today I'm pulling it out of you and I'm having you in front of the camera.
Not my comfort zone, but I am going to do my best.
So I wanted to ask you, because I feel like you wear so many hats, like photographer, you and your husband have a business together. Matt, we'll talk about Matt because Matt is part of the business as well. He's the man behind the camera today. And what is that like working with your husband?
We are kind of inseparable. So it definitely is something that we really enjoy. We spend all of our time together. So it's nice, but it's my husband. So, we do, bump heads every once in a while, have a disagreement. But for the most part, we really enjoy it. Yeah. And
do you guys, you work together. I feel like creatively that should be really strong. That should be really empowering in a way to be with somebody who understands your creative touches.
Yeah. So we always are bouncing ideas. He's telling me how I can make something better, and I'm telling him. So we always every morning we wake up, we have coffee, and we sit at the kitchen table, and that's our brainstorming session. It lasts 2 hours. We make breakfast, but we're always discussing different topics, how can we improve X, Y, and Z, and he's should I do this? Should I start this up? And we kind of just have creative meetings all the time. So it's interesting.
So how did you start out doing photography?
Wow. Okay. So I would say I always loved photography. Even I feel like I had a selfie camera before, when I was 12. I had a small little Nikon that flipped the screen, and I would be in my room taking pictures. So I always loved photography. But professionally, I met Matt. He was a break dancer. He always filmed himself video. So he always had a nice camera. So when we first had Lucas, our son, he's 6 years old. So 6 years ago, I would say, we bought our a DSLR, and we would just post all things of family, and we would do creative shoots and videos, and people started to notice. They're oh, we want you to take our photos. And we're okay. And then a family friend was I'm having a wedding at the Bourne Mansion. I want you to film it. I was we've never shot a wedding before. Okay, we'll do this. So yeah, so it kind of started there. And I think that from there, it kind of grew into something. I never expected to have a photography business. But I think it's just something that evolved by itself, and here we are.
Well, I think with something like photography, which is a form of art, it's all about practice and as years just getting better and better and better. So I feel even though you started out kind of playing around, it makes sense that you were able to build this empire out of it because you were able to really hone in on your craft for just getting better and evolving over time.
Yeah. And I feel I feel you ask any artist, they're still not where they want to be. So I feel that.
I get that.
And I think everyone can relate. I think that always pushes us to just be better and better and better. We're always learning, so I think,
Absolutely.
And still trying to figure out what we want to do. We're still learning. I think COVID for us, we did way more weddings than we ever knew we could handle. And I still think we're coming down from that. And like now we just know that we want to like, you know, do less like weddings and make it like more of a boutique experience. And then also like leverage the studio. So, you know, do like, you know, motherhood and family and all. We'll get into that.
So that brings us to this. So here we are actually filming right now in Jenna and Matt's studio, which is located in Patchogue. And you do a lot of styled shoots here. You do maternity shoots here. You do podcast filming over here. So tell me a little bit like how this got started, getting the studio. What made you guys like take that step?
Yeah, so we were always like, you know, renting like with another photographer, a studio, but like we really wanted just to have something like of our own. Like I was heavily inspired by, I don't know if you know Mint Room Studios in Toronto. They have like, yes, like we went to their studio and it was just like very similar. I literally bought the same exact fireplace as that.
You know what's weird? I have one of those.
You do?
Yeah.
No way.
I'll tell you the story after. It's a weird one, but yeah.
So we actually flew all the way to Toronto. I found this like on Instagram, like Mint Room. I'm like, I'm going to fly there. We're going to take our own self-time engagement photos there. So I was like, wow, I like fell in love with the space. I was like, it's my dream to one day like have, you know, a space where like they do all these shoots there. It's just like unlimited, you know, unlimited potential or opportunity. Like, so I always wanted like a space of my own like this. And then Matt was like, oh, I found you know, we moved out east. The studio that I was currently renting was like becoming too far. So I was like, let's look around, you know, let's see. Matt's like, I found this perfect space. I think we should look at it and see. I'm like, yeah, we'll do it. It's fine. I'm like, it's probably like just okay, you know? And then we like came in, he showed us like 3 different, so there's like a bunch of suites. He showed us 3 different ones and like we were looking at the small one first. And I was just like, oh yeah, I can like, you know, envision it. But then he took us to this one and I'm like, oh my God, I just saw the ceilings. They're original from like the 1930s. And I was like, wow, like I like literally saw this like in my head, you know, this space. And then I'm like, wow, now I'm in the space. Like, I'm like, can we even like do this? Like, what do you think? Is it too much of a leap? Like, it's so scary, you know? Yeah. So we did it and here we are. And it's just still surreal.
And you guys have had so many great shoots already here. I mean, with different designers, planners. I mean, and that's just like within the wedding world. But then you also do a lot of different podcasts here for a lot of different entrepreneurs located on Long Island, as well as maternity photo shoots. So you've been able to kind of really use this place like to your advantage because yes, it still focuses in part in your wedding business, but you've been able to like branch out into other like sectors of the business, which is really nice.
Yep. And Matt, he does like a lot of like commercial clients here. So, and I feel like there's still so much like possibility. Like just recently for my birthday, we did like a yoga class and it was like, it just like feels to me like I love being in the space. It feels like home, like a second home. And I feel like everyone who steps in the space also feels that. So I love the idea of bringing people into the space and being like a host, like, you know, you're not in my house, but like you're in my studio and it feels nice. Like
it does. And it's, I mean, I know you guys can't see everything from, you know, your side, but it is a really huge space that you're able to kind of like work with and you can host a lot of people at one time, which is nice too. So, and you know, it is in a great area. People can come do a shoot, then go out for lunch, you know, like it's real. It's, I mean, things like that. And there's a lot of places to see. That was the first thing I thought as I was driving up. I was like, oh, there's a dirty taco over there.
Mexican place they just opened. We'll get it after.
Oh my God, it sounds so good. So tell me about how Mama Magic got started. So for those of you that don't know, in addition to Jenna and Matt's business, Silent Capture, where they do photography and videography for weddings, Jenna also has a business called Mama Magic, and she does maternity photo shoots, and that happens here in this studio.
Yep. I mean, I always loved maternity photography. Like all my friends when they were pregnant, I did their photos. So I really loved like that editorial style. I love magazines, like any like Vogue or anything like that. So anything like inspired by fashion. So I took Lola Milani's course back in 2016 or 2017, and she's like, you know, maternity, like her stuff is like, you know, amazing. And I learned from her, and then I kind of just like, you know, started it, and then it kind of just grew, and here we are.
Yeah. And, you know, something else that you did this year is having the studio. You were able to do holiday photo shoots with families. So they kind of came in, you were able to take your Christmas photos, your Hanukkah photos, your holiday photos, and, you know, send those out to, you know, families, you know, people who send out a holiday card every single year. Yeah. I'm not at that stage yet because like it would be just me, Ira, and my dog. But
that
you know,
that's cute. People do that.
That actually would be Ira's dream, probably.
Oh my God. Okay, next photo shoot.
Next photo shoot. I hope you like shepherds. No, she's like 40 pounds. You know, she's just a lot of work. But yeah, but she lives for the camera. She's a lot like her mother.
Oh, I know you love photos.
I do, because I feel like, and I always say this, is when it comes to your wedding day or really any kind of special monumental time in your life, all you have at the end of that is your photos and your videos. Mm-hmm. So, you know, this is a big thing. And, you know, and it's a question that I got for you actually, which is, you know, is doing videography like worth it on your wedding day? You know, we have some people who go strictly just photography and not always like go for the videography as well. My feeling just on life and in general is like, I like to document times. I'm not the person who's always out with my phone and things like that, because I think like you gotta like live life. But I think it's very important on like milestone moments that are really only gonna happen one time to document them, because you don't get that back, and you're not going to regret having photos and videos of these certain times.
No, definitely not. And you're spending all this energy planning every detail and like all this money. It's not cheap. Yeah. So you want to like have something to like hold on to those, you know, that special day. Definitely. Do
you think that people should make room in their budget for the videography?
I think it's like
a must-have.
Not more important than photography, but it's really freaking important.
It's so important. I feel like it's all that you have at the end of the day. And I've said this like story before, but when my aunt and uncle got married, which is now like about 40 years ago, my parents were both at that wedding and they didn't know each other then. They started dating after then. So we have this video from the wedding, and that was like well before videos even went on at weddings. Like,
yeah, it was like new.
Yeah, my uncle, my mom's brother, actually like filmed it. So, you know, it's like not great, but it's still something. And yeah, home videos. And so like I'm seeing this, like my mom and dad kind of like passing each other like at this wedding, and it's kind of hysterical. And like I would have never seen that if it never happened. Yeah. So
you wouldn't even have known, right?
Yeah. So of course for my wedding, of course I did photography and videography. I know it's not the place to skimp.
Not only did she do videography, you need to tell people what you did.
Oh, not only did I just do videography, I had to rent out a theater to show my video, because
that's the only way to do it.
Duh, like who wouldn't want to see my video?
I love that you did that though.
I love how like on the like it was like gonna say our names on the thing, and it did, but it also said like Rod Stewart movie or something, and I'm like, that so tracks for me. It'd be like Rod Stewart, Estee Levin, like, and yeah, we rented out the theater. I think, you know, my family are used to my antics, so they were like, okay, whatever. I'm sure my in-laws thought I was nuts.
But it was a nice experience for everybody, you know?
Yeah, it was a one-timer, you know. listen, my 1-year anniversary is coming up soon. After that, you know, the sharing of my photos and my wedding stuff will be over. I gave myself a 1-year timeline, you know, once a month for a year, I can do it. And then after that, you know, we got to move on.
It'll be like dog portraits.
But it's, you know, it's for me. And, you know, I was saying this last night to Ira, is like, I'm a big fan of like, or I think I almost get like a little sad, like when firsts are over, you know? So it's like, right now is our first Hanukkah, right? I'm like, it's our first Hanukkah married. And like now, like, you know, and, but it's all good things.
Yeah.
It's
Create
all good
more
things.
firsts.
Yeah. And, you know, Ira is definitely like, you know, he complains about my photo shoots, but at the end of the day, you know, he always follows suit.
Yes,
like
and
a
he's
good
there,
husband.
like not complaining.
Well, he definitely complains, but
No,
then
he's
he's
good.
Yeah, on our wedding day, he was good. Yeah.
I think that's like very important.
I mean, if he was going to complain about the photos on that day, he was going to have to go. We don't have any time for that.
Yes.
No, he's
But you're like the perfect bride to photograph, because you're like me. Like I'm very like more is more. Like I want to get everything. I want to like optimize. So like when I have brides who love photos, like I love photos. So like if you hire me, you must love photos.
I mean, for me, definitely more is more. I love getting all of the different angles, getting different shots, daytime, nighttime, you know. I mean,
Just want it all.
I want it all. Yeah. You know, I'm never going to regret having those photos, you know?
I love it.
I know. It just goes too fast. Do you ever feel, and because you work in the wedding industry, I work in the wedding industry, when a wedding is over with certain clients, do you ever feel sad?
Yeah. Like I want to see them again.
Yeah, like I get where, you know, sometimes leading up to certain weddings, I don't want to say I get anxiety, because that's not really the case, but it's like if I know it's like going to be a really busy day and very hectic or a lot of moving parts, I get a little twinge of like stress, because I just know of all the things that have to get done. But then like, you know, when I'm in it, I'm kind of just in it. And then like toward the end of the night, I'm like, oh my God, you know, I've been working with this person for a year or 8 months or a year and a half. And like now like our chapter like is coming to an end.
Yep. I feel like for me, it's different though, because like I get to look at, I like literally like the clients I love all my clients, but like sometimes like if I miss them, I'll look at their pictures and I'll be like, oh,
that's
this was
so
such
true.
a good day, you know?
Yeah.
And I like look at my clients' pictures like way too much. I'm just like, oh, and I just smile, look at them, you know, they're so sweet.
So sweet. And now you probably have a lot of clients that are repeat clients because they come back for their maternity shoot and then family shoots.
Exactly. Yeah, I've done a few actually. And then they came for their Christmas photos. So I get to see like the whole cycle of, you know, their life.
Yep.
It's really special.
You're growing up with Jenna and Matt.
I love that. Can we coin that term?
We have to coin it. You know, like all milestones must happen with Jenna and Matt.
I love it.
So now like winter season coming into play, we all know, I think all of us wedding industry professionals are looking forward to the break. 2022 was a crazy year. I know I'm like very much looking forward to January 1st, getting a little bit of a breather, taking a little me time, figuring out some of like my next, you know, ventures, moves, you know, just different things that I want to focus on.
Yeah, you want to like sit back, reflect, and, you know, maybe do things like different, or, you know, do something new. Or
what are some winter plans for you guys?
This is going to sound like just boring, but we're like very much like homebodies, and like we love being in the house and like with our family, and like just like being home and just like having like a home routine is like so important to us. Cause like when our home is just like out of order, it's not like okay. Like if our house like gets messy and like, you know, we're just like, I'm going to say like 2022, we were like overbooked and blessed, but mostly like, you know, and I think seeing like that and like, you know, when you're like so busy like that, you don't have as much time to like nurture like yourself and like your family and your house. And like, you know, you have so many facets that it's like when I'm home, I'm working, you know? So it's like a lot of things could be like, you know, get swept under the rug or like, you know, so we do enjoy like having just like taking a break just to like regroup and like refresh. And, you know, just when we do creative things, we're coming like, you know, fresh and we're not like tired.
We get
tired.
I hear that. Oh,
don't
Me too.
I'm exhausted right now.
I know.
Can you see my bags?
I hear you, because I'm like, I feel like in the busy times I go, that even in slower times, sometimes I have a really hard time slowing down. Yeah. But I think after a couple years, honestly, because the pandemic was crazy for everybody, but I was very fortunate to like not miss a beat. I was very busy in 2020, not necessarily within the wedding world, but I was building my podcast, which I really didn't think I'd have anybody who like wanted to come on.
But
and then I had all these people who wanted to come on. I'm trying.
I'm really honored I'm on this podcast. I have nothing important to say.
I'm honored to have you on the podcast. I was like, you know, Jenna's coming on my podcast.
Yay. I'm like, I have nothing to talk about. Like, I don't
Yes, you do.
You talk and I'll just listen.
It took all of me to get Jenna to come in front of the camera, but here she is. And isn't she wonderful at it?
I think it's like nerve-wracking. I'm like, what if I say too much, or like what if I say the wrong thing? And like,
well, the fortunate part for you guys is that we can edit this.
Can we edit that part out? Like, I don't think I should say that.
You know what's funny that I noticed about like myself on camera, because like I didn't grow up doing like theater.
Yeah.
And I think people think that I did.
I could see that. Theatrical.
I think people think like the truth is like growing up, I actually like have a very good voice, which is
like a singing voice.
Like a singing voice.
Sing right now.
I can't.
Just one line.
No, that I can't.
Star Spangled Banner. Go.
And I used to like compete a little bit like when I was younger, but I was not the type who was like in the school play or anything like that, because I just had my energy focused into other things. So I never did any of that. So things that I thought my mom did when I was like growing up, that I was like, oh my God, that's like so cheesy. Like, why are you saying that, Mom? Why this? But whatever. Then I watch myself back on some of these videos and I'm like, am I my mom?
We all slowly start to turn
funny,
in.
Like how as you get older, like all the things that like embarrassed you about like your parents, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's me now. Like that's me. Like, you know, not that I'm like out there. I mean, I don't really like make mom jokes yet, because I'm not a mom yet. But then I say certain things and I'm like, I promised myself I was not going to be that, and here we are.
Yeah, literally. Matt tells me all the time, he's like, you sound like your mom. I'm like,
yeah, that's what Ira tells me. And I'm like, no, I don't. And I'm like, maybe I do.
We're like offended. Like,
I'm like, I definitely don't. And then I'm watching these videos back and I'm like, I am my mom. Like, I'm definitely my mom.
Which is not a bad thing, right? Our moms are
not
great.
A bad thing. Our moms are great. You know, my mom is like, my mom holds down the fort for all of my paranoia. and there's plenty of it.
Yeah. And I have to say my mom's a great babysitter. She's fantastic. So I don't want to take that.
Well, my mom is retiring soon, so
Nice.
I'm planning to put her to work with that.
You will.
Yeah. So when I eventually have a kid, Mom, you have a job. You're coming out of retirement.
I love that. She'll be happy to do so.
I hope so. Yeah. So much to look forward to in 2023. Weddings, engagements, maternity shoots, family photo shoots, podcasts.
Wait, can I tell you something? I literally had, well, me and Matt, we went to Puerto Rico. We were supposed to have a wedding, but it got postponed because they like had new COVID, whatever,
wow.
like during like New Year last year. So we still went, but we like made it into like a creative trip. Like we got out like our notepads and like we set up cameras. We did like a little podcast, but not really.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was more just like our conversation. But like I had so many goals. And like one of them was like to start a podcast. And I'm like, I like think that like I want to start a podcast for like Mama Magic because I'm like, you know, there's
Totally.
so much like in motherhood that like we can talk about. Like that's like a whole separate
100%.
like
It is.
But I'm like, okay, I'm ending the year. It's like kind of like synchronistic because like I'm here on your podcast.
Yeah. We're basically getting Jenna ready for her podcast.
I don't know.
You're getting a nice taste today.
Yeah, hold on.
But think about how so many people, like you have so many people who could come on that are, you know, past clients or even like vendors who are friends in the industry, like all these people who are moms and also business women and all these things. So I feel like you have so many people who will like rally around you to do that and like help by being like guests.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm there yet. I like also wanted to do a YouTube channel and I'm like,
see? I'll tell you though, when I started my podcast, which was during the pandemic, I couldn't meet with anybody, obviously. So it was all by phone. And then once the world opened up like a little bit, then I started like meeting with certain people in person. I never really had the vision that I was going to do videos, but I realized sometimes with certain people, it's cool to show products or show spaces and show different things that make sense. So,
and I feel like also it's like nice to see like
who you're talking to and people
I feel like
gravitate
you're very like
to
animated, so it's nice to like see you like, you know, like your eyes and like the smile. I feel like it connects more, like you can connect more with it. And that's just like, I'm a visual person, so I think
like for you, you know, obviously you've taken so many leaps of faith already. So to do a podcast in your studio that you have all of like the tools to do so, you know, even if you start out just with, you know, by microphone and then moving it over to like doing videos and doing things like that, I think you have all like the tools to set you up for success.
Yeah. I think so. I'll try it, maybe.
It's a 2023 goal.
There's a lot of things I have to do.
Right? But I feel like that's what it is when you're creative, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all it sounds kind of crazy, but we're all searching for like the next projects to work on. And I'm like that too. I think for me, I always have so many things that I want to do, and then I have to like hone in on like what makes sense and what's the most important and like what's like job wise and what's hobby wise. And sometimes it's okay. Like I would almost be like, I want to do all these things, but want to like make it businessy. And then I realized like not everything has to be a business. Some things can be okay to just like be something that you're interested in.
Right. I feel like we're just like hardwired for business. Like it's
Hardwired
Matt's
for
fault.
business.
I was never hardwired for business, and now everything is like a business opportunity. And like I do love doing like, you know, creative things. Like I feel like as creatives, we need to do things that are like not businessy, that like, you know, like feed our soul or like feed our like creative, you know, creativeness.
I always say like I'm very fortunate like that I make money to do what I love, because most people cannot say that. And like I get up and like, listen, we all have hard days. We all have days where we're so tired. We just like have had it, don't want to do it. But like I wake up every day and I'm very lucky that like I do what I love to do and I get paid for it. And I'm like, I mean, I said that to my husband recently and I'm like, that's like, like as lame as it sounds, it's like, wait, I get up every day, go do a job that I love to do, and I make money. Like
this is like a win.
Like wow. Like
I know.
You know, because you know, I know people who and they don't have that, or they don't have that passion.
Yeah.
And
or they don't know what they want to do. And I think that like I'm like I have like every time I like step out of the house I have like 10 business ideas and I'm like I could just like hand one to you. Yeah. But like you need to like be passionate about it. Because if you're not, like you won't be fueled, you know, and you won't pour all of yourself into it. And I think like that's the key to having a successful anything, is you need to put 110% like of yourself into it. So
do we think that your son will join the family business?
He says he wants to. He's like, I want to be a photographer when I grow up.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
I know, he's adorable.
You guys can all go out together.
Yeah.
On the weddings and the shoots.
He's so funny. I can't.
Is he good in front of the camera?
He like, we come to the studio and I'm like setting on my lights. He'll be like, take my picture. Like he's like used to it. He's had a lot of practice.
That's so cute. I love that. I think that's like sweet, because you can see the creativity in him as well.
Yeah. I think it's like too soon to tell, but I think he'll, you know, we'll try to instill something creative in him. It's going to be hard for him to like, you know, like have a regular, because he's so used to like us like always being around. So I feel like for him, he's going to like, you know, you always like kind of follow in like, is that true? You follow in like your parent? I feel like he's going to want something for himself. Like
I think I followed like in my dad's footsteps in a lot of ways. He has his own business, has his own store. He's very, my dad has always had like a good head on his shoulders. Yeah. And I feel like I'm the same way, you know, but he's very practical. Yeah. You know, I'm very practical too. Sometimes a little like too practical. I would like to like, you know, cut the ties to that a little bit, be a little bit, like roam a little freer. Yeah. But I think in due time. Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, and same with my dad too. He like, I always saw he has his own business, and like I saw that like growing up, and I'm like, you know, I was like I never had like a full-time job like before doing photography, because I was just like not, you know, it was just not like fulfilling me. And I would like me and Matt, we actually met, and like we were both like gypsies, like no jobs, like just like creating and like loving life. And then now we're, you know.
And now look at you guys. You have multiple business, multiple platforms, multiple areas that you're building up.
And now you can't turn his brain off. Like he's just hardwired.
We all need a little bit of Matt.
I know. Yes. Not too much, but a little bit.
Well, you guys are like 100% in, you know?
Yeah. We're a good balance. Like, yeah.
Well, I feel like that's like the key to like any good marriage. Like, I feel like my husband, he is a scheduled guy. Yeah. And then he married me, who is like all over the place. I try, you know what it is? I have a lot of things and like I do get a lot done, but then like he's the type of guy who has like 3 meals and 2 snacks a day. And me, I'm like flying by the seat of my pants like, oh, it's 4:00. I'm starving. And he's like, how did you not eat? So like that's, you know, that's like the funniest like part of things is like you kind of marry your opposite, I feel like. And I feel like he balances me in ways that like I just
Yeah,
am
like,
not.
didn't know you needed to be balanced.
Yeah. I didn't know I needed to be balanced, and I'm like, wow, I guess we do.
Yeah. No, like he's definitely like the more like grounded one, and I feel like I'm just like, you know, same as you. I'm just
But you're like a wife, mother, business owner, like you're doing it all.
Yeah.
And I want to do that one day too. And I'm like, it's looking questionable over here. But like,
No.
like I'm always like, oh God, like how am I going to have it all together? But I feel like when the time comes, it will just happen.
It just like everything, like, I don't know. I never would have thought, especially the mother part. That's like, you know, it's a lot caring for another person. It's like, but you know, it just like comes natural. It's like part of your, you know, biology.
That's what they say. That's what they say, that the maternal instincts kick in.
Yeah, exactly.
God willing, for me one day,
Yes.
that will kick in too. Right now,
And then you'll be back in the studio.
back in the studio, obviously, for the maternity shoot. And then we'll have to do a family photo, bring little Luna Levin, my shepherd, you know. Right now, she's the baby of our lives.
I know our cats are real. They're the real babies. My son is 6, but
Your son's like, I'm not a baby.
I know he's not
It's
a
about the
baby.
cats.
We still call him the baby.
Aw.
It's funny.
Well, Jenna, I could talk to you forever.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that this is the first podcast that you came on. I think that you have a knack to go on a million more podcasts and start your own if you ever plan to. But this moment we'll never get back because it's the first time.
You are the first.
So I feel really honored and special.
I feel honored. Like, I'm not good at talking in front of the camera at all.
Well, I think you did an amazing job. You lie because you're great in front of the camera.
No. Like, when people ask, like, I was like in a workshop one time and they were like, they went around and said, tell me about yourself.
But I think that that's horrible because I think if somebody asked me that, I don't know what I would say.
No, like,
I'd be like, what do I say? I'm a workaholic and I drive my husband crazy? Like, what do I...
like, I don't know how to talk about myself. Like, I'm like...
I think that that's so hard, though. When people are like, say 3 facts about yourself, I'm like,
Yeah, no.
I don't know. In that moment, I'm like, I don't know anything about myself. I'm like, at any other time, sure, I know about myself. You ask me 3 things, I'm like, I got nothing.
Yeah, because like it's just it's uncomfortable. I don't know. But thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad that you came on. I'm glad that you were comfortable with me. And a big thank you to Matt who set all this up today and put up with our antics.
These fancy microphones.
These mics. We got the set going. We got a couple different
Candles
camera angles. We got the candles. We got the mood lighting. Like, we set the mood.
I love it. So much fun.
Well, for those of you tuning in, if you're not already following Jenna and Matt on social media, go follow them at Silent Capture Photo and at Mama Magic and check out their work, see some stuff with the studio. Maybe you want to make a date for a shoot here in studio, or reach out to them about your upcoming wedding, your upcoming engagement shoot, family shoot, any kind of shoot. We're here for it.
Love it.
If you're not already following me on Instagram, please go follow me at The Bride Tender for all fun facts on the wedding industry, ways to save money on your special day, and of course, hiring the best in the business for your wedding. Until next week, mix yourself a cocktail, slide into my DMs with questions you want answered on all things weddings. Stay sane, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.